Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for attending Flexible Design for the Small Modern Library. My name is Jenny Whirlig. I'm the director of the Baldwin Borough Public Library in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, PA, and I'm joined with Amanda Markovic, who's an associate principal with GBBN Architects Incorporated. So I'm just going to start off with a little background of the Baldwin Library before we get into some of the design, because I think it's important that you see what we're dealing with and where we came from. So since 1989, the library has been trying to build or relocate to a safer, newer, bigger, and more accessible location. From the screen, you can see here that Baldwin is a very oddly shaped borough, and it's very difficult to find a good location for a library that will serve everyone. The star in the middle is our old library. The star at the bottom is where we were located, and the little dot at the top is our borough building. So you can kind of see there really is no good space in the borough for there to be a library. So it was really hard for us to find a space for the library. We are a bedroom community. We have no business district. We are pretty much built out with homes. So we were actually very lucky to get a municipal building to relocate to, since we couldn't really build anywhere. So our renovation project was made possible because a borough manager was forward thinking enough to offer us a municipal building that was underused, and we had opportunity to create a new community resource. We funded the renovations through a Keystone grant, borough support, a CITF grant, and an RCAP grant, plus community fundraising. I'm not going to get into the logistics of all of that. We're just talking about design today, but if anyone has any interest in any of those grant applications, the process, and so on, you can definitely let me know in the Q&A. But today we're going to focus on the design. So what you're looking at now was our old library. I mean, this is what we were dealing with. There was absolutely no exterior signage for us. You can see it was peeling off. There was no, it didn't look like a library. It was an old school building. We were in there for 30 years, and we had to deal with a lot of physical limitations, which you're going to see in a minute, and a lot of things that were falling apart. In 1989, we were in one room, which was 2,400 square feet. In 1995, we added a second room, which was 899 square feet. And in 1997, we added a third room, which was 900 square feet. So the next, Amanda, do you have control? Okay. Okay, that was weird. So this is the entryway. So like I said, it was an old school building. You saw what it looked like from the road. This is what it actually looked like when you pulled into it. It's literally where the buses used to drop the kids off. And the picture to the right is the actual entrance. That was the signage we had. And if you can imagine walking into a library, this isn't the kind of building that is very inviting or welcoming or even looks great. It looks very suspicious. So we had a lot going against us in terms of the exterior. I think you have control, Amanda. I don't know why. Okay, so I just wanted to show you kind of the layout of the library that we were dealing with. So off to the left, you see the shared public library. So when people walked in, it was a school. They had to walk down a hallway to the right, and then we were split into 3 rooms, a main room, a children's room, and a program room. The restrooms, however, were off to the left, all the way down the hall, down 2 hallways actually, through lockers to get to a shared bathroom. So it was very weirdly set up. And it wasn't really conducive to working in a library. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. So here's that hallway that we were dealing with. So that was our welcome sign that was hanging from the top. You can see it looks like just an old school building. And then when you get down to that hallway and you make a left, the second picture is the hallway. We did all of that. We put in all of those cabinetry and all those display cases to make it look more warm. But you can see at the very end, there's a navy blue sign and a maroon sign at the top, and they delineate our adult area on the right, on the left, and our children's area on the right. So this was our children's room. Like I said, it was 900 square feet. This was the second room that we added. It is crammed with books. And then you can see the children's librarian's desk. So that is where she worked at all times, in addition to doing a lot of her programming and collection spaces. So it was very packed. This was our main area. So you can see it is dominated by books and wood. It's really important to see these pictures because when you're able to juxtaposition them against what we went with, you can see why we did what we did. So this was the staff area on the left, and what you're looking at is a circulation desk where they did everything. Cataloging, processing, everything. They had no space of their own. And then you can see to the right, that was it. That was the seating we had, those 2 couches. And then again, there's the couch space, the seating space, and oh, look, we had 1 library table. So that was it. That was the only place for people to sit. There was no place for them to hang out. It was all just, you felt like you were being consumed by books and furniture. This was to the left was our teen area. That was it. A little cafe table right in the middle of the stacks. To the right, we were very lucky. We did have a program room. The program room was about 900 square feet. It was also an old classroom, so it was actually really good for us to have storage and to have programs, but that was really the only good thing we had going for us. So you kind of see where we came from, the amount of stuff that we had to put into this. I think it was 4,100 square feet of space. And you know, we're trying to serve 20,000 people out of that space, and it's not welcoming, and it is just dominated by books. And we all know that libraries are more than books. So what you're looking at now was the space that we were given. It was called the Leland Park Community Center. It really wasn't a community center. It was supposed to be the Southern Borough building, but it was completely underused and the roof was falling apart, so it sat empty. We were really lucky that we were able to work with the interior that we did, but you can look at the exterior. I mean, it's crazy. Who uses blue to outline windows anymore? But anyway, that's what it looked like from the outside. So the inside, this is what we were dealing with. So like I said, it was a Southern Borough building and it was used as an auditorium, again with that blue. I just can't believe that's what it used to look like. So we were lucky in that we had an open floor plan. We didn't have to worry about doing a lot of demolition work. And it really lent itself to the vision that we were going with. So this new space was about 5,100 square feet. So we're gaining 1,000 square feet. Great, right? No. Before on our square feet, we didn't have to worry about bathrooms. We didn't have to worry about storage or closet space or a foyer or a janitor space. So really, we're looking at using the same amount of space that we had before for public and for staff. So we really had to come up with something creative. So what we told Amanda and what we told our team when we were trying to envision this was we needed it to be as open as possible. Before, we had very distinct spaces because we didn't have a choice. We had rooms, right? We knew the main room, we knew the children's room, we knew the program room. But after being in that school for 30 years, the last thing I wanted was walls, and the last thing I wanted was wood. So we wanted to make sure that the library we created was incredibly open. We weren't putting up walls. We weren't putting in heaviness. We were trying to be as light and flexible and innovative as possible. So we had a design that took us into the future. Here are a few more pictures. There was a kitchen in here. We obviously demolished that because it used to be used as an event space. And then the program room had that fun wood paneling, and oh my God, that stain on that carpet is crazy. So yeah. So kind of to sum up what I've been talking about as opposed to where we were, as opposed to where we wanted to go, there were 5 main things. I'm looking at my notes right here. 4 main things that we needed out of our new space. One was, like I said, no walls and open floor plan. We did not want doors, hallways, or fixed walls to be erected. It was too constricting and it wouldn't allow for changes easily. It would take away all the flexibility that we wanted. So we needed as much flexible space as possible. But we needed those spaces to be distinct. Because we didn't want the walls, the design had to be where each space was unique and it had different elements and colors without it being too overwhelming. I needed to have that flexibility like I talked about. Since this was going to be our permanent home, imagine trying to create a library that was good for now and for later without having to do too much in terms of the physical space. We needed a staff area. So you saw that circ desk before. Can you imagine doing all of your work out there in the middle of the open? It was tough. So I needed some of that space to be dedicated to staff. This is not usually what people want to think about when they're designing libraries, but it is incredibly important. It also allowed us to put a distinction between when you were helping the public and when you could do your programming and other activities. And then we needed an accessible and welcoming entrance. You saw the exterior of the old school building, which was just terrible. We needed something that when people drove up, it said, this is a library, please come in, you're safe, you're welcome, it's warm, we really want you to be here. We needed a facade that really reflected you know, what we wanted to be in the community, which was a destination. So we gave a lot of big visioning ideas and big needs to Amanda and her team, and they came up with a really cool design that helped encompass everything we needed and really took us as far away from where we were. So Amanda, do you want to talk about the design?
Yes, thank you. So we worked with Jenny and talked through the vision and goals that she just stated. And, you know, we came to the table with the intent of providing spaces for learning and community, spaces that cultivate creative output, spaces that provide inspiration for creation, collaboration, agency, and empowerment. These are the building blocks of strong communities and really do enhance the mission and the goals that that were set. So as Jenny mentioned, the existing library was buried in that former high school. So it was very much in need of a new home and with their own identity. For the library to find that in the Leland building, a former community center, was actually really fitting. Because in a large part, that's what a library is, an essential civic space. But in the space fit the library really well. As you see here in this image, there's the large community space with a really fantastic volume with the exposed wood trusses. There's a smaller meeting room, program room. There were back of house spaces here shown that would have easily fit in the staff spaces and program room. But we really wanted to create a sense of place, not just a warehouse of books or a large gathering place, but a place where people want to come and check out the sewing machine and run into someone who might live down the street from them. So the design intent was to transform the building by thoughtfully inserting elements that create defining spaces for adults, teens, children, and staff, while maintaining the integrity of the dramatic volume I just shared. We kept the space open enough to allow parents to keep an eye on their children without having to be right next to them. So here's the floor plan. This is the new vestibule that was created. The existing door was over here. This became more centrally located and allowed someone to walk in and really have a sense of what the space was and where they would go. We have a circulation desk, and right behind that is the workroom, break room, and director's office. And then we have the adult collection shown in green, the children's collection shown here in this light gray, and the teen collection shown here. And really to provide that definition of spaces, it was with these small insertions, such as these walls that do not go all the way up to the deck. It is through elements of casework and cabinetry, the shelving, to really create and define those spaces. So we were able to maintain the height and that volume by not extending the partitions fully up to the ceiling. So here you can see to the right, and this is a rendering that we did for the library for their fundraising efforts. So by not extending walls all the way up to the ceiling, it gave the feeling of a space within a space, eliminating the severe partitioning. And that provides intimacy without confinement. This is one of a few renderings that were provided for that fundraising effort, and it really gives a strong sense of the quality of space versus kind of the quantity of space that is often described for capital campaigns. And here is a photograph of that similar view. And so, you know, it looks very similar to in our visioning, but what we did add was walls and furred out and added insulation. And that did a number of things that brought the building and the space up to current energy codes. So the library is now spending less money on the mechanical systems to heat and cool the space. And that also helps keep out other environmental concerns, such as smells from the outdoors. So I'm really passionate about the design of libraries and I do what I can to make space for engagement, a place to build social networks, an equitable place. I love seeing how the space is actually used. Here, on the day we came to take photographs, there was this family sitting there and had pulled out headbands and were playing that game. And so it was just fantastic to see then the realization and how it gets utilized. The computer stations were in constant use. The children's area was extremely busy. So for the site design, as Jenny mentioned, one of the primary goals was to make this an accessible space. When they inherited the building, there was parking, a large amount of parking, in fact, on the site, but it is down at a lower level than the primary entrance. And so we were looking at adding an elevator or adding parking up at this top level. And so due to the cost of the elevator, we decided to move forward with adding off-street parking to provide accessible spaces. So for the exterior, again, the building was very functional, but as with many civic buildings of this era, it had a very foreboding presence. It was essential to transform the exterior to make the building a welcoming space to house the future essential programs to the community. This was accomplished through small interventions. Once again, the concrete had a tendency to blend with the predominantly gray days that Pittsburgh has. And so adding wood here, highlighting window openings, highlighting entrance, brings warmth to the concrete and then highlights those moments. You know, adding views in and out of the building here shown at the teen space and then at the entrance, just again makes the space much more inviting to those to the customers and patrons in the community. And here's that parking lot. And you know, I wouldn't typically be talking about the benefits of adding surface parking anywhere, but I think in this instance, it really added to that sense of welcoming and sense of presence, that it wasn't a background building, that this is a place we want people to come to. For the interiors, just like Jenny noted, that we wanted to keep this really clean and simple and bright, keeping a limited palette. The space is small, and that limited palette aids in it feeling less cluttered. The flooring, we essentially have two different patterns, and we just played with how those are laid. So turning them, integrating them in a couple of different ways to help further define spaces. The use of light is extremely essential in any space that you provide. So balancing both natural light and artificial light. And so again, just taking a really simple approach shown here, these linear fixtures that have a tendency to just kind of disappear, but provide a really nice quality of light. But in areas such as this, in the teen area, we really wanted to identify this as a special place. We did this over the circulation desk and the children's area as well, and just created a chandelier in a way with that same fixture, just to give it a little bit more interest. And all of the fixtures are LED. So this very clean, uncluttered space lends itself to be a place that an adult can come and relax with a book, while at the same time it is a place that the kids can feel comfortable playing and pulling out toys and really playing with their imaginations. So going back to one of the original goals, to provide flexibility, the space was designed with movable shelves and furniture so it could be reconfigured to support larger group activities. While children, teens, and adults enjoy their own spaces, whole families come in to play the board games that are provided by the library, or for one of the many events that Jenny's going to be sharing with you here in a minute. So hopefully what you see here is how important it was for us, the designer, to understand the community the library serves and accommodate their needs while ensuring those spaces are welcoming and flexible enough to support the community as it changes. And this is obviously not Baldwin Borough Public Library, but I just wanted to share this, another project that we've done. This is at Knoxville Carnegie Public Library. And just the adaptability of existing spaces. There's such a huge stock of existing buildings, and one of the most sustainable things we can do is utilize those buildings. And here at Knoxville, also another very physically imposing building, originally designed with a brutalist style, as so many civic spaces were of that time. And through very similar strategies, thinking of light and views, it is now transformed to a warm and inviting destination.
So we're gonna show you, we recently celebrated our first anniversary in the library, and we were supposed to have a big party, but then COVID happened, so we didn't. But I did make a video, and this is gonna show you how the Leland space was transformed into the space that you just saw. It's gonna have some fun pictures of how people are using the space to kind of show you what it looks like in real life. So this is just about 3 minutes long. It's got some cheesy music to it. Enjoy. Oh, well, you don't get to hear the music. That's fine. It's cheesy anyway.
Oh, I hear it.
Oh, lucky you. That was our open house. That's where you're going to see a lot of these pictures are from our open house. The slides are going a lot faster than I remember. It's fine. I will say that we get the most compliments on the lighting, as you can see above the Discovery Center there. People just think it's so bright and they love it. That blue, man, I'll tell you. If you guys can believe it, before the blue, it was mustard yellow. So I can't believe it. We also used, while you're looking at these images, it's probably good the music isn't playing. We used some reusable material. So bamboo is the wood that you see in the Discovery Center area and in the wall, the teen wall. And then the Cirque desk as well, you can see the bamboo. And then the shelving, oh, I like these pictures. The shelving on the inside is an eco resin. Is that right, Amanda? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was, I believe, zero waste company. Yep. And was it 100% recyclable materials? I can't remember.
Yes.
So we did try to use some reusable resources in our design. So that was like a fun glimpse of the actual transformation. What you're looking at now is our current open daily configuration. This is what our library looks like when we open every morning with the computer station. You can see the Discovery Center in the back. Oh, what happened? Oh, was a video?
It was playing the next video, and so I'm not sure who all.
We weren't seeing it, but you were
end.
listening to it.
Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, so you can see our daily configuration. I'm just going to point out a few things here before we move on. So you see our computer area. We also have a few computers off in the teen area that you can't see to the right. We've used that wall that Amanda has called a design feature. No, what do you call that?
Yeah.
A moment. Oh, yes, I forgot. We haven't used that word yet. That was one of my favorite words to use when describing this design to people. It was a design moment. We use that for all of our new materials. So it's a really nice way to highlight things to that side. The Discovery Center in the back has been kind of a wayfinder for us. Kids just know exactly where to go. They just flock over there. And then if people are visiting us for the first time, we can just point it out and say, the children's section is over where it says Discovery Center really big. And we're going to get into how we use that space a little later. And then the smaller shelves you see right there in the middle, those are the ones that are on wheels. And those are the ones that have created the space between, not delineated the spaces, but we constantly move around to help us do some bigger programming. So on a day-to-day basis, that's what our library looks like. But really what you're here for is to talk about how we use the space with its flexible design for programming. And look at that. The very first big program that we had was our summer reading program kickoff in 2019. So we opened the library April 2019, April 1st. And our first program was at the end of May. This is the crowd that we were able to get into the library. And what made it wonderfully easy was that one person, and we have all ages of people that work here, one person can move the shelving on wheels around so it's not in the way. So we just move those shelves out of the way, bring in some chairs. I believe a lot of the furniture, like the orange ottomans, we just slid off to the side for people to sit on in the back, and we have a huge event space. And you can see off to the left, Al Mazing, which I'm sure most of you know, used the actual Discovery Center area as his stage, and so it was perfect. So this was our very first event. It was great. We loved it. I don't even know how many people were in there, but the space did not feel cramped. We got adults and kids. It was great. One of our signature programs that we do is our Creepy Crawly Cafe, and the new space was perfect for it. We transformed the whole library into a restaurant. So off to the left, you can see on both pictures, you can see just a little bit of those rollable shelves on casters. We actually used those as the walls to our dining room. So we just moved them around, set up some tables. We have such artists on our staff, and we were able to create a restaurant in the library. If you go to the next slide. We also do a lot of Friday night programming. I don't know if any of you have ever tried a mom's night out. It's very similar to like a paint monkey type thing, but it's geared towards caregivers so they get away from their homes. So we do a lot of these. And again, it's in that main space. So we just moved the shelves on casters. You can kind of see one off to the left. We just kind of move them out of the way into the aisles of the stacks. And again, the furniture that was in the middle, those ottomans, you just literally just put off to the side as well, bring out tables, and we fit 60 to 75 people around these tables. You can see this one was, I don't know what they created, plates, but you can see all the ladies that were in there. It's great. Here's another craft one. We do Sunday craft when we could. We did Sunday crafts where people brought cookies. Again, it's all, you're gonna see all the same kind of configurations. We can just easily move those shelves out of the way. If you see off to the right, on the picture to the right, in the very corner, you can see how we rolled it in between the shelves. Yeah, thank you. So it made it really, really easy. And that space makes it really conducive to big programs. We do a team paint night. Again, same thing. In this case, you can see we only had to move 2 of the shelves. In the bottom right-hand corner of the left-handed side, you can see the corner of one of those shelves because we only had to move 2 of them out of the way. So and you can see we never have to move the blue chairs anywhere, and the orange ottomans are just shoved off in the corner. It's very easy to move things around for these bigger programs. And look at those cute teens. Trivia night. So this is a little bit different. We did move everything out of the way, but this time we used the circulation desk as the main area, and we had someone come in and do trivia. Lots of alcohol was consumed. It was really, really nice. We used our teen area as our raffle basket area, and we used our program room as the food, and it worked out really well. To the right, just so I can provide some context, there was a mascot contest, and they decided their mascot was going to be a bag of potato salad, which I just think is hysterical. So that was, I think they were a runner-up. I don't think they won, but they were the trivia runner-up. And there's a Discovery Center. So this is a nice close-up of what it is. So it's a bench that we use as a play area. You can see all of the toys down below. We also highlight collections there, but we use it as a stage, and we had karaoke night. And you can see the boy on the right was all up on the top, getting his karaoke on, and then the girl on the left was a little more shy, but it was a lot of fun. We had, is there another slide of this, Amanda? Do I have another? No? Okay. What we did was we didn't have to move any of the caster shelving out of the way. We just set up some tables right in front where people could hang out and request songs and watch. So that was really fun. What do I have next? Okay, so that was all the ways that we've used that program space, and most of those events that you saw were on times when we weren't open. But I don't have any pictures, but there are times that we are open where we don't necessarily move the shelving around, but we use the teen area or the children's area as overflow for bigger programs. So if you're looking now at the program room, off to the right on the left-handed picture, you're gonna see like a shiny wall. That's a movable wall. You can see the track at the top. We can split this room into 2. This room is not big. It's not as big as our other room, but that's okay because we have the bigger space of the library to use for bigger programs. Off to the right, you can just see how we use that room for babies, which is always a lot of fun. Okay, so let me just look at my notes real quick because I don't know where I am. Okay, so just kind of to wrap up, Amanda, will you go back one? Okay, so I just mentioned earlier, I don't have any pictures because I find that I don't take a lot of pictures, but we use our entire library for programming at all times. A few things I didn't mention were that teen area that you saw, that really nice teen area. We've had to use it for book groups before because we've had a full program in this program space, but we need a book group. So we just basically rearrange furniture in there, bring a couple tables, and we have a small meeting space. I've actually had a board meeting in the teen area before. My board is very flexible, and so we had 2 meetings going on in this program room on a board meeting night, so the board just went out in the teen area and had our board meeting. Maybe a little different, but it didn't really matter. They're public meetings, right? We use every nook and cranny of our new library during all hours, and it's really, really great. What you may have noticed, though, on the exterior was there wasn't a lot of anything. When we came down to our budget, we didn't really have the money for fun landscaping, but that provided this wonderful opportunity for a lot of community programs. So our indoor space, I think, is really clean and really nice and will really take us into the future in terms of flexibility and colors and such. Oh boy, I hope that doesn't cut off when we're in the middle of this. But what we did instead is we brought the whimsy and the fun community art aspect to our exterior. We really made it more fun and more of an inviting, cool space. So I'm just going to touch on a few things that we did with community groups to make our space more fun. If any of you don't know who Mission Continues is, it is a veteran-run organization. It's for any veteran to join. They have platoons all around the country where they give back and they do community projects. And they did a September 11th community project with us, and it was a community fence. So they came and they built a fence for us, and then we invited the community to paint whatever they wanted on the fence. There were no guidelines. And this is what we came up with. It served as a way to have people make their mark on the library, as well as aesthetically, you can see it kind of blocks some things. So there's the front and the back of that fence. So this is what people see every time they park in the parking lot, walking up to and from their car. It is wonderful. There are so many great messages on this fence. Part of that, you can go to the next one, Amanda. Part of that is they also built us some ADA accessible picnic tables. That's what you see off to the left. And then we also had an Eagle Scout build and paint some picnic tables for us as well. So now we have some outdoor seating. So we can do programs outdoors, which we all know we absolutely have to do now because of our current situation. So we've now had book groups out there as well. Gardens. So we got a grant. So off to the left, it's not the whole garden, but we got a grant and we made a butterfly garden along the side. And we've been doing outdoor programming and video programming of the garden during COVID. And then to the right, you'll see our vegetable gardens. So Mission Continues helped build this for us as well. And our goal was to have a community garden and to do programs around it all summer. That didn't work out. So instead, I did a lot of videos and a lot of harvesting and a lot of cooking and things at home to display our garden. We also gave out things, including we're giving out all of our herbs, mint and lavender, in some upcoming craft bags where people are going to be able to make their own scented candles at home with herbs from the library garden. So I just wanted to kind of show you these things because I'm really proud of our space on the inside, and I noted that it's not cluttered, it's not crowded, it's clean, we've kept the design intact. So on the outside is where we really involve the community in the design and made it more fun and whimsical and more like a community asset and a community center as well. So that's kind of how we've been able to continue that design. Now Amanda's going to talk about the future plans we have for our design, hopefully when we get some more money and things calm down a little bit.
Jenny and I have maintained a good relationship and have talked a lot about what we've learned, what Jenny's seen and learned since the library has opened. I mean, there's only so much you can anticipate, of course, when you are living in 3 separate rooms divided by a hallway that is commonly shared. And so there's a few design elements, but then, there was always this question of how are we going to recognize those that have really donated to the library, those that come to the library. There are many different backgrounds that people are coming. This is well embedded in immigrant community and want to make sure that this is a space that's welcoming to everybody. So Jenny engaged us in the beginning of this year to develop some signage for the building. This is a welcome sign, and below it in Bhutanese is welcome to the library. And then in the background, if you can tell, is welcome in, I believe it's 6 different languages. And it does a number of things, really. Again, just really want to make sure that the library is open and inviting to everybody, that it is inclusive, but it also adds some texture to the space that was needed. Continuing with the signs again, these will be on the left-hand side, the opening hours that will go on to the front entrance glass. New men's and women's toilet room signs. And so I think this just continues to, build on a design intent that was there, along with the goals and mission of the library to be inclusive to all.
Yeah, just to provide a little bit of background for that. So that was Nepali, the language, and we've been working really closely. So we are a library right where a main resettlement area of Bhutanese refugees has been, and we have a Bhutanese member on our board, and we talked a lot about how to make sure his community felt safe and comfortable coming to the library, but also what is a library. And really all they need to do is see something in their language to make them feel welcome. So that is why we chose to have Nepali below it. And then I believe the 6 different, or however many there were, languages, we contacted our school district, and those are the top 6 languages spoken in our area. So again, we're trying to reflect our community as much as possible. And isn't it vinyl? Aren't those vinyl lettering on the wall? Is that right? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay. So hopefully our plan also was to have that up for our 1-year anniversary. That did not happen. So hopefully very soon we'll be able to do that. So we also just wanted to touch briefly, since we are in the middle of a pandemic and we've all had to kind of rethink how we serve. We thought it was very poignant to this presentation in terms of flexibility to show you that we have the perfect design to be flexible. So unbeknownst to either of us, I came up with a design, and then Amanda came up with a design on how you could rearrange the library to adhere to social distancing, to encourage, to still encourage people to come and stay, but to still be safe. So what you're looking at now is a picture that I took just an hour ago outside the library, standing on the CERC desk, which people thought was hilarious. So if you look to the right, that was our main configuration. We had a bunch of furniture, we had computers right next to each other, still very open, but still not great for social distancing. To the left, I did some very simple things. You can see we have 4 computers instead of 6. Those other 2 computers, you can see one in the back I put on a table, and you can see one in the front I put on a table. Everybody's 6 feet apart. I didn't have to get any extra furniture. I just had to move some chairs around to make sure that everyone had a task chair. I moved the shelves on casters just a little bit to make sure that there was enough space between people that wanted to browse and people that were on a computer. If you kind of look off into the distance, you can see someone sitting. We moved a table over in the discovery area and kept one ottoman. And then I moved one ottoman off to the side, and then we did keep a small table in case kids wanted to sit. The teen area, which you can't see, we moved, there's a computer over there as well. We kept both chairs, but we removed the ottomans so there wasn't as much space and we can social distance things apart. In the very far background, you can see a tiny blue chair. All we did was move one of the adult chairs to the corner, and we were able to keep the other 2 blue chairs where they were. So I removed very little furniture. I will say, I don't know where all of your libraries are now, but our library is fully open, fully functional, no restrictions. So I wanted to make sure that if people did want to come and stay, they could. They felt comfortable doing it. They felt comfortable browsing, and we've had absolutely no issues. It's been really nice. People have been really grateful because no one comes and really hangs out. There aren't kids everywhere, but everyone feels safe. You can also see I put little 6-foot circles. I call it, I can't remember what I call it, but I basically encircle the circulation desk so that staff know that their people are 6 feet away. We also have plexiglass up, which is helpful as well. So I didn't really have to do a lot. I literally had to remove one small table and chairs and then reconfigure the computers, and we were ready. Now I understand we are a small space, but our design just let us do that very, very easily. And Amanda, she's going to show you her design as well.
Right, so we put something together as well, and it was funny to hear that we had two different layouts. And like Jenny said, I mean, it is a small space, so you could imagine that you would only have a couple of different opportunities. But here, what we did was separate the stacks or the shelving that are on casters and utilize those to create these little zones where you know, two people of the similar family can sit down together. You know, we both did the 4 computer stations at the table, computer stations in the teen zone, computer station here. We could have utilized this and created 2 different rooms for if there's a tutoring need or something such. But obviously, you know, because of the flexibility that was built in really to make this space able to hold a lot of people, right? That we were then able to flip that and utilize that flexibility to maintain those physical distances that are required.
And I will say, if you go back just a little bit, the only reason why I mean, our program room is in great shape to be used like this, but as all of you know, we have to quarantine materials. So guess what our program room is being used for? So we're actually having to use it for staff and to store books, which is unfortunate, but again, it's still prime space with that wall to be able to create those private areas.
So, you know, as Jenny said, it's really important. I mean, fortunately, Baldwin Borough has been able to open to their full extent. But this is something that we've tried to share with our clients in our communities that, you know, we have had past research that are really looking at these 5 different types of common space. And these are the types of spaces that build community by enhancing how people interact and build relationships. So at the center, you'll see this zone of recognition, the 6 to 8 foot. And that's where you start to begin to create familiarity with people. You create friends. So imagine you're at Starbucks every morning at 8 o'clock and you start to recognize the same people that are there at 8 o'clock. And then you start to recognize what they're ordering. And then you might notice that one day the person that usually gets the scone is now getting the muffin, and it might make you engage them in a conversation, ask why the muffin or how was the muffin yesterday? And so you can really continue to build community, you know, with these restrictions, with these physical restrictions. It is not in any means inhibiting those social connections to continue. And so since this has occurred, one of the first questions, every question I get from all of our clients, higher education, commercial office, is, you know, what does the future of design look like now that we are experiencing this? And I mean, I first begin by saying I can't imagine that it is going to, well, this is not going to last forever, so we can't make changes that are as a result of this specific pandemic. But we can continue to move forward in a way that thinks thoughtfully about flexible space, about adaptability of spaces. So, I mean, and that is to respond to a pandemic such as this, or it could be because the community is changing and there's more of a need for technology, or there's more of a need for larger spaces for community engagement. You know, you know, the library can become a food pantry for when there's a natural disaster. So we have started a renovation of this as a project in Cincinnati, the Hamilton County Public Library System. And this is a renovation of an old TJ Maxx. And so what we are doing here in the center is, what we've really done is reduce the program of children's, adults, and teen spaces to allow for this center space that is extremely flexible. It brings in all of the notions that we've done on the Baldwin Borough Public Library, that everything within this yellow area will be highly flexible, that you'll be able to move all of the shelving that's shown here, move all of the furniture out of here. And those spaces in which it starts to go into the children's adults, that's where it can start to flex and contract as needed, as those, if adult needs a little bit more space one week because of a program that they're having, they're able to kind of expand into the marketplace, or the marketplace is going to have a community event in which everybody needs to attend. This can now start to expand into those spaces to enable that. So it's just something that I think you're going to see become much more prevalent. How can spaces adapt? And so we started out this project in hopes of a phase 2, that there would be a larger build out. You know, as you can see, the library is absolutely functioning as it needs to be. But in the future, there's hopes that there is additional funding to provide this addition. And so it is essentially this right here. And when we put this design together, it was assumed that the children's area would want to move out here to give some more space to the adult collection. But again, you know, through learned lessons and the conversations that we've had, that doesn't seem to be the case. That the proximity of the children's space to the adult just feels it's right and appropriate. That perhaps the teen space really wants to be out there, more computer stations, and then that the existing teen space can become the area for book clubs, a place for adults to retreat to when necessary. And this is the rendering of what that could look like. So again, just increasing visibility, increasing the identity of the building at the street side, providing opportunities for outdoor seating and such.
Well, hopefully in our presentation you got some ideas, or at least you have a lot of questions, and that's why we're having a live Q&A. So there should be a link at the bottom that you click on, and then Amanda and I will join you there, and you can ask us all your questions. We'll also provide our information to you during that Q&A, and it's on the presenters pages as well for any specific follow-up questions. But we were very happy you joined us today. And we thank you for your time, and we hope that you're all doing very well and your family's doing well and you're surviving, and things are only going to go up from here.
Thank you.
Thanks.